Talk about the supermajority in Tennessee and the work that you want to do there.
Yeah, so I mean, like a lot of people don't realize Tennessee is a unique state. We are a supermajority in our state legislature, but we also have a majority of our federal seats are held by Republicans, as well as we have a Republican governor. We also have the added bonus of most right-wing media is now housed in the state of Tennessee, in Nashville. So this is a very, very calculated move by the right. We are a testing ground. Now, what does that mean for a supermajority? Well, Tennessee wasn't always red. We used to be purple. We used to have, my district itself was blue up until 2008, and people wonder how it flipped and why we've always felt like a red state. And I tell people all the time, it's because there was a down ballot initiative in the 2008 to 2012 range, which literally they flooded the market, and it allowed for school boards to be flipped red, and then the people worked their way up through the system. And it is when my opponent, Scott Desjardins, became the now 16-year incumbent and was elected in office and has stayed here ever since. And we haven't been able to touch him. And that is because Tennessee is not, while we are, if you go in our election office, you see every like voting booth that will say #1 in voter integrity, but we're 51st in voter turnout. We are 48th in voter turnout in 2024. That's not first in voter, like in voter safety or voter, but what it is voter suppression. It's gerrymandered and voter suppression, because I think it's like something like 200,000 voters. If they showed up to vote Democrat, we would flip every seat.
Yeah.
It's such a small number. So what we need is people to stop being apathetic. I'm not afraid of losing my election. I'm afraid of voter apathy in 2026.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about an issue that's close to your heart, and I think right, it rings loud and true with progressives like myself and Allie. Universal pre-K. As a mom, as a parent, I think that's something that a lot of parents are looking for in this world where increasingly one income is not going to pay the bills for middle-class households in America. And so as a working mom, as a parent, I know that that's something close to your heart. And I want to know what, I want you to dig into that a little bit deeper for our audience.
Yeah, no, it is something that's on my platform. You can go to Victoria4Tennessee.org or .com, and you can see that I want universal pre-K. And it's not just because, I want an outlet for working class families who are like myself. Both parents are working and we need a good place. We know that pre-K education, that starting early, we catch things earlier, they get a more equitable start in life. And it's social bonding, it's learning how, and if we take the pressure off of parents to pay that additional amount of money, etc., it saves money in the long run, because if parents don't have to worry about, where their kids are going to school, they have that pre-K option. They can go straight from daycare. Maybe they're only paying now 2 years in childcare for a young child, instead of paying from now like 1 to all the way up to almost 5 years old, just depending on the area we live in. So again, these are all things that can be done, and people are like, how are you going to pay for it?
Of course.
Taxes.
Yeah.
Making corporations pay their fair share.
Exactly. And corporations should be incentivized for a program like that. You're going to have increased productivity. You're going to have parents that are basically more available because they can afford to have their children in daycare services. So it seems like a win-win to me, but they never quite look at it that way.
They never look at it that way. They think short term. They don't think long term outcomes. And it's not a one size fits all, because it's not just universal pre-K. It's making sure education system is up to par with the rest of the world. The average child is going to school at 5 years old, whereas in other countries, they're starting as early as 3 years old. That is a huge amount of time to lose in a very young developmental life.